where to go. So now, to officially open our event and to welcome you, I pass you to Mayor Dean Rees from the rural city of Wangaratta. Dean, over to you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for allowing me to share this great evening with you. Now, I'm not sure if Helen Haynes is with us at the moment, is she? And Amanda McLaren? No?
Yes,
anyway,
Helen is here.
Helen is there, and Amanda's there too? Great. So on behalf of the rural city of Wangaratta, I'd like to thank you all and for the opportunity to speak here tonight at the Incubator cohort launch. Now, obviously, I was just checking that Helen Haynes, so thank you, Helen. Warm welcome to yourself for being here. Helen's our Federal Minister, and I'll point that out. She's our Federal Minister, so for Indi, so thanks for being here. And Amanda McLaren, the Chair of Hume Regional Development Australia, and thanks for spending the time to be here with us too, Amanda. What a fantastic way for us to spend a Friday afternoon, and I'm not sure if it's just me, but I've got the wine ready to go and the cheese and biscuits. It's that sort of celebration that we've had before, but without those. But please feel free to make sure you have a cheese and bicky and perhaps a glass of red. The reasons for us here today is to celebrate the big ideas and the people who have those big ideas. Those entrepreneurs who are constantly searching for new ways to do things and are finding new solutions to problems. But it's hard to bring business ideas to life, and often these big ideas would stay just that, just ideas, without the support and the resources to turn them into real business. That's why it's so fortunate to have an organisation like Startup Shakeup and Runway here in northeastern regional Victoria. They are dedicated to ensure local entrepreneurs can build the skills and access the support they need to do amazing things. And if we're going to build a healthy local business economy, that's what we need. Forward-thinking, innovation, creative people who are supported to bring their ideas to life. On behalf of the rural city of Wangaratta, Towong Shire, Indigo Shire, Alpine Shire, Mansfield and Benalla, I want to congratulate the cohort for completing the incubator. What an achievement this is, especially when faced with the ups and downs in the current times. It has taken dedication, grit, determination, which is what you need to have to succeed in business today. I look forward to hearing about your big ideas and dreams today and watching, hopefully, fingers crossed, your business grow in the future in these ever-changing times. So thank you, everybody, for allowing the rural city of Wangaratta to be a big part of this journey.
Thank you, Mayor Rees. The City of Wangaratta has been such a fantastic supporter throughout the Startup Shakeup journey, and your recognition of the significant role played by innovation in North East Victoria has been and is and will be invaluable. And I think you're quite right that we do have challenging times. We have had challenging times. You will see as we go through the run sheet that a couple of our cohort, one for personal reasons and one because of a thunderstorm that's just hit, have not been able to join us tonight, but that's the joy of the online environment. Thank you all for joining us. So now I introduce you to our two leaders who have led, facilitated, coached and nurtured the Incubator cohort throughout their journey. Linda Wong, who is the Managing Director of Runway, and Amelia Hartney, who is our on-the-ground facilitator in region. They will explain what this incubator has all been about. And first, Linda is going to introduce you to our three fabulous judges. Linda, over to you.
Thanks, Alina, for that welcome. And boy, have we got an extremely knowledgeable and experienced group of panel of judges today who will be providing feedback to each of our startups as they pitch their idea. So I'd like to do these introductions just slightly differently today and give the audience a bit more insight into each one by asking them a question. So I'd like to start with Kate Cornick, who has been the CEO of LaunchVic since it was established in 2016. So given your tenure at LaunchVic from the beginning, Kate, what have you seen to be the biggest change in the startup sector over the years in Victoria?
Thank you, Linda, and thank you for having me here today. It's great to be here, albeit virtually. And I'd like to acknowledge all the guests and the traditional owners of the land upon which we all meet. And for me, the startup sector has changed dramatically. And I think the thing that I love the most is it's gone from a bit of a fringe, grungy activity that's a bit of a side hobby for a few, to something that's really mainstream. And we hear people across government, across industry, talking about startups, talking about ecosystems, talking about innovation. And that's really, really exciting. Our sector's growing at a rapid rate. Last year, it actually grew 10.75% in jobs. So despite COVID, despite all the challenges we've had from an economic point of view, the startup sector is here, it's here to stay, and it's growing in importance in the broader economy.
Well, that's fantastic to hear, Kate. That's good to know. Thanks for that. So now I would love to introduce you to Trey Zaganti, who is the Deputy Chair at Startup Shakeup and also the Associate Partner at McKinsey & Co. So welcome, Trey. Given your experience as a venture builder with 2 successful exits, I'd love for you to share your view on how we can foster innovation across our industries.
Sure, thanks, Linda, and thank you everyone for having me here. Look, this is an exciting topic for me, and if I think about how to foster innovation across industries, firstly, taking a step back, to me, the definition of innovation is something new that creates value. And really, innovation is happening day to day across a lot of industries, a lot of organizations. So one of the key questions is, how do we do that systematically, and how do we scale the impact that innovators have? If I was to use one word to describe the answer to that, it's an ecosystem. And, the parts of the ecosystem include, the resources, the talent, obviously having a culture, and of course, funding available as well, mentorship. And this is something which everyone here is part of and is working to really grow. So really excited to be here and super excited about the startups in the cohort.
Thanks so much, Trey. And that's a great segue in terms of your word ecosystem. So last but not least, I'd like to introduce you to Nick Stanley, who is the chair at Runway. So if I could sum up Nick, the best way I'd like to describe him is he's a father, he's a funder, being part of Geelong Angels and also funding several startups. And he's also a founder, where he's actually founded Sky Software and Runway as an example. So Nick, given your experience in building out Runway in Geelong and Ballarat, what do you think are the secret ingredients to building sustainable regional ecosystems?
Hey, Linda. Hi, everyone. Thanks to Elena and the team as well for the invitation to judge tonight, and to the Mayor for that great opening. Thanks, Linda. I think that's a really good question. It's a great question I want to answer on behalf of Runway. Runway was set up initially because of that in particular. So Runway exists to help regional entrepreneurs, and one of the best ways that we can do that is to create ecosystems, because we recognise that in a lot of regional locations, ecosystems are either lagging or they're non-existent. And we exist to try to address that problem. That's our purpose. And we're a not-for-profit, and it's really an important exercise that we do. In terms of what are the most important ingredients of a performing ecosystem, it really comes down to it's 3 things, but it's sort of one thing, if you like. It all comes down to outcomes, and the best way that we can grow regional ecosystems is with outcomes, because when you see an outcome, when an outcome occurs, great things happen. And by an outcome, I mean that a startup is formed, something happens, and something good happens, and an exit occurs. And if that happens in regional locations, it's what we sort of would characterise as a rainmaker. We see it as an economy with the likes of Atlassian. So Atlassian had a great startup. They've had a fantastic journey. They've had this magnificent outcome. And the consequence of that has been all of these knock-on things that have significantly accelerated our ecosystem. We need those types of things to occur in regional locations. And that's what Runway is really passionate about. And that's what we're there to do. If we do only one thing, it's to help one of you guys tonight or one of the other people that we're supporting in all of the other ecosystems that we help to become an absolute success, and for that success to pay it forward, and for that success to have that cascade effect which creates the ecosystem. Thanks, Linda.
Wonderful. That's great. Thanks, Nick. And thank you again to Kate, Trey, and Nick for being here today. Really looking forward to hearing your feedback to all the participants' pitches. So next, what I'd like to do is I have great pleasure in introducing you to Amelia Hartney that Elena had mentioned earlier, who is the facilitator on the ground for the Startup Shakeup cohort. So together, we have co-facilitated the Incubator program over the last 6 months. Now, throughout the Incubator journey, we have consistently stressed the importance of storytelling, and today is no different. Every story, as you know, has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. For us, the beginning started when Runway and Startup Shakeup received funding from LaunchVic and RDV Grampians to continue our quest to support regional ecosystems. Startup Shakeup within the Northeast and Runway within the Southwest, Central Highlands, and Gippsland. Now, in terms of our methods, Startup Shakeup and Runway collaborated to deliver a blended incubator program that brought together startups from each of these regions into the one place. The participants were given access to online content to work at their own pace. This content was supplemented with weekly live Zoom sessions on a Monday over 6 months to deliver key points of the content. Further advice and knowledge was provided through public masterclasses, agile check-ins, and one-on-one coaching. We launched the first joint incubator program in April of this year and kicked it off by bringing together the entire group for the first 2 days in Ballarat. And over to you, Amelia, now.
Thank you, Linda. Firstly, it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you and Zoe and the team and your side of the state and also our cohort over this side and all of the Startup Shakeup team. Our partnership between Runway and Startup Shakeup is far more than a strategic relationship. It's provided the founders across 3 very creative regional areas to meet and work on their businesses together. The founders have worked together to problem solve and support each other. Success is always challenging and it's very hard to manage and measure when you're a founder. One day you feel like you've had a win and then the next day you feel like you're still chasing the dream. Together, we've co-designed a program with our cohort and the outcomes and through the modules and business development activities have been very successful. We've shared resources and capabilities. We've worked with our delivery partners and our cohort have brought together all of their skills and experience from their lives prior to building their passion projects. We've built an encouraging environment. We've looked for ways to strengthen connections with the cohort, and we've continued to work together and establish really strong relationships from our networks. And we continue to rely on all those wonderful referrals that we are having coming in every single day. The outcomes. Thank you so much for mentioning that before too, Nick. The Incubator program is designed to take an idea, those ones that keep us awake at night. We incubate it, and through commitment and collaboration, we have taken those passion projects into reality. Together, we've all had the opportunity to meet and learn from other business owners from both, all of our areas, I should say, from the 3 regions that have come together and been very generous with their time and shared it with us. I'm very proud to say that we're graduating this evening as a team of new businesses and with the foundations to succeed. We have scalability, we have growth, and we have all of your support. So thank you for joining in, everybody. On behalf of Linda and myself and everybody, congratulations. And we're very, very excited to continue the journey with you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Amelia. And thanks you, Linda. As you can all see, participation in the incubator has been a real commitment by those involved. Not just Linda and Amelia, but also every single one of the participants. It's been a commitment to their idea, to learning, and to each other. So now you know the wonderful people who are going to be our judges tonight. Give feedback. You know something about the extraordinary process that we've taken participants through over the past 6 months, a huge investment on their part. Now it's time to meet the participants as they launch their businesses, and then to hear about the prizes that we have in store for them. So first cab off the rank. Now, Stuart tonight can't be with us for personal reasons, but we decided in true Startup Shakeup and Runway style that we were going to feature him anyway, so I'm here to tell his story. Director of Tin Shed Cider, Stuart makes great local cider from Victorian apples with no sugar, no concentrates or no preservatives. In doing this, he logged all the dead miles. He noticed all those kilometres being travelled every day on the same roads by people with empty vans, wagons and trucks. So recognising the need for a cost-efficient and effective logistics solution throughout Northeast Victoria and the Hume region, he created a mindful supply chain freight solution, UFreight. UFreight connects clients to drivers and small businesses to customers and individuals to each other. Individuals get new and used items sent to their door. Small businesses deliver their products to customers and other businesses, and drivers subsidise their fuel, and we all lower greenhouse emissions. UFreight provides real-time tracking and route planning, helping to drive business and consumer confidence and peace of mind. It's a mutually beneficial and efficient supply chain service. Stuart can't be with us, like I say, for personal reasons, and has every intention on continuing his journey with us. So Kate, no judges' questions here. You're off the hook now. You get to relax and we can put you in touch with Stuart after tonight. So now, drum roll to everybody in the room, and here we go. Next up, we go to Rowan Webb, who, like me, just loves a good bevy.
Thank you very much for the layer, and I'll just share my screen. Bear with me a sec.
There we go.
All right. Can everyone see that all right?
Yeah, it's great.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. Thanks for the introduction, Lena. My name is Rowan Webb, and I'm the progenitor and founder of Northeast Cellar Doors. Northeastern Victoria has arguably the best beer and spirit producers in Australia. Our artisans are passionate and incredibly skilled at production. And their stories are incredibly powerful, but they're only valued when they're shared. Swiftcrest Distillery in Mansfield is entirely off-grid. They power their stills via wood-fired steam technology that's so efficient, they can perform an entire days of production off practically kindling they get from their land. The water that Hank uses from his own natural spring has been scientifically proven to be perfect in just about every way. And as a result, his Alpine Spring Gin is one of the finest spirits I've ever tasted. But you wouldn't know that unless you knew. And that's where we come in. While our artisans are amazing at bottling pure gold, there are challenges that come with getting their bottled gold to those who want it most. Northeast Cellar Doors aims to position itself as a binding agent for the producers to centralise marketing, distribution and freight. It's a big dream, so how are we going to get there? Phase one is basic. It's a website. It's a means of bootstrapping the business, and we offer mixed packs and experiences in a box. You can try the best of every brewery in the Northeast Victoria with a few clicks, or you can receive a gin or whiskey tasting experience that offers ways you can sample a distiller's product exactly the way they intended. We sell experiences and stories. From here, we expand. 2 more expansion phases will introduce regional events, regional marketing, distribution centres, unified logistics, and taking enormous burden off the producers. The final end game, and I'll ask anyone here from Startup Shakeup just to block your ears for a little bit. The final end game for Northeast Cellar Doors is to create a full ecosystem for new brewers and distillers to start their labels. It's an incubator that supports them to do what they do best while we do what we do best. The result will create a world-renowned produce region that will serve as a key economic driver in Northeast Victoria. Phase one has launched. I'm really proud to announce that as of 2 weeks ago, we had our first deliveries out the door on Monday, just in time to arrive on Father's Day. I had a personal set target to get $2,000 of sales, which is enough to get the ball rolling on my stock levels, and that was completely smashed. By this time next year, I'll be lining up phase two of the business to coincide with Spring Festival season. My ask tonight for judges and all those watching is simple, and anyone can participate. Lockdown's really hard. We want to explore and we want stories to share. So send your friends an experience from the greatest beer and spirit region in Australia, Northeast Victoria. Go to northeastcellardoors.com.au and order, and just know that this order will help kickstart a regional economic powerhouse. And just for tonight, those watching, you can use the discount code Startup Shakeup to get a little bit extra off your order. Thanks for your time.
What a fantastic idea, Rowan. I love the idea of buying a mixed pack of gin bottles. My credit card's never going to be the same again. So now to our judges who are working as a team. Nick, what questions do our judges have of Rowan?
Oh, yeah, thanks for that, Delena. Rowan, that's a fantastic pitch. Good way to start the ball rolling this evening. The first question that I have for you is, what's your strategy around customer acquisition?
Yeah, sure. So the beauty of the way I've positioned the business is that it's mostly online. There's no retail outlets. So we can we can use online means via traditional advertising, Facebook, Instagram. We can use tourism channels to acquire customers as well. And I'm designing it to be a two-way street so that I'm directing business to all of our producers' cellar doors. And as a result, I'm building partnerships, so they're going to direct business back towards myself as well. So we can do more together than we can apart. And the producers that I've been dealing with understand that, and they're completely on board with it too.
Good segue into the second question that I have for you. That's about the two-sided aspect of what you do. But just before I move on to that, I would say don't discount the complexity of customer acquisition in an online world. Everyone sort of points to, oh, well, we'll acquire customers online, and it's a very, very competitive space. And if you want to just compete on PPC or pay-per-click or SEO, whatever it might be, and you don't have more than that, it's just really expensive. So you've got to go and look at more sort of smarter tactics, as well as you've got to invest above the line, which is to say that you've got to do more about brand building, and that takes time. But the second thing I would say is around the second question is around the platform effect. It's a two-sided marketplace, right? So you've got to the interest will be driven as much by the types of producers you have. So where are those producers going to come from, and how are you going to massify that at scale?
So obviously we've got the group of existing producers that work now. Are you talking about those, or the new ones coming into the system?
As you make it a scalable enterprise rather than just a few providers in a small location.
Yeah, well, the idea would be to draw them out of the woodwork, and a lot of people here tonight would understand what it is to build an ecosystem like that. So it's about putting a peg in the sand and advertising that, and creating events to let people know that support exists, and to offer them the support and advice and the actual tools they need to take whatever they've got from a hobby level and actually launch it into a commercial grade production. So the intention is, again, it's a slow build, and this is why I've got the rolled out phases. We start with the bootstrapping, we get into helping the businesses and building that side of the business, and then we launch into the actual ecosystem of things as well.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Nick. Some really astute questions there and some welcome advice. And congratulations again to Rowan for hitting the nail on the head. So now we go to Patrick Au, who is passionate about sustainable housing. Patrick, over to you. Just take yourself off mute.
Yep, was just looking for the button. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you, Elena, for the introduction. So hi, my name is Patrick Au, and today I'll be pitching my idea house, the business that will make sustainable housing more accessible. I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the various lands we're meeting on and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. So a bit about me. I grew up in Gippsland in a little town called Maffra. After high school, I moved to the Big Smoke to study architecture. However, after a while, The hustle and bustle was starting to grind on my wife and I, and with a young one on the way, we decided to move back to Gippsland so that our children could enjoy the country lifestyle that we loved. Now, we looked briefly into building a home. However, we were disheartened to find that the only feasible options to go with were with volume builders who like to focus on sustainability. In the end, we decided to buy an existing home and renovate. Now, I'm lucky enough to have the experience in construction to do this. However, a couple like Jack and Jill Smith, who have a young family and are desperate to move out of their rental and into their dream home, may not have the same expertise. It can be daunting to buy, build or renovate a home, especially if you've never done it before. On top of this pressure, consumers are wanting to live more environmentally consciously. How many of you have thought about installing solar panels or double glazed windows but don't know where to start? Due to Jack and Jill's lack of experience, it's hard for them to advocate for themselves through the process and are therefore at the hands of the industry professionals who may have their own agenda. On top of all this, the Smiths don't have time to research and implement the right building practices for them, let alone sustainable design. So enter House. We make sustainable homes more accessible by taking care of the entire design and build process for our clients. Whether it be additions to an existing home or building a new home, our industry knowledge allows us to steer all parties involved towards a common goal. We will advocate on behalf of our clients to implement sustainable best practice. And finally, with all the research and hard work done, we save time and hassle for our clients by streamlining all the processes. So if we look at the typical offerings in the market, it's hard to find a company that can offer a comprehensive custom design and build with the focus on environmental sustainability. And the construction industry, and particularly the residential construction industry in Australia, is massive. We're servicing that project side, management side of that market, which equates to approximately $6.2 billion per annum. My MVP will initially focus on Gippsland, and even if we look to service just 5% of this market, this potentially could equate to $29 million annually in the market share. So in terms of my other traction, so I'm currently building up the right processes to create a strong business foundation. And in the near future, I'm hoping to get my idea out there so that I can pursue this full time. So if you're interested and want to get in contact, please follow me on social media. I want this business to be the best it can be. So I'd really appreciate if you could either scan the QR code on the screen or go to our website to provide some quick feedback via the online form. Thank you all for your time.
And thank you, Pat. This is such an important challenge that we have to solve as a society, and particularly at the moment. So what great ideas. So now to our judges. Trey, what questions do our judges have of Patrick?
Thanks, Wayne, and thanks, Patrick, for your presentation. Look, definitely a very important topic, and one that has been around for a while. People have been trying to move to more sustainable use of materials and construction for a while. Why is now the right time?
Well, look, I think in terms of sustainability, probably 15, 20 years ago was the right time. But it's even more important now, particularly with the new announcement from the World, what was it? I think it was the World Sustainability Organization, essentially saying that there's a, or Climate Change Council, I should say, essentially saying that now it's now or never, essentially. It's not too late, but we need to do something right now. And everyone that I've talked to and through my market research are wanting to do something, that they're just finding it too hard to find, either find the time to research it or find the right resources. And I guess with my experience, that's exactly what I'm trying to do in terms of making it more accessible to people. I've always had a passion for sustainability as well from a young age, even though it wasn't, I guess, explicit, but it just seems to resonate with me really well. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, thanks for that. And my follow-up question was going to be, why you? And I think you've already answered that, and it's pretty clear given both your experience and education and your passion there. I wonder, within the region, how might you make this sustainable and have impact beyond just the region?
Well, I guess for me, I'm using the region, I'm targeting my MVP at the region, mainly because I'm local and I'm able to create more connections in the area. I would love for this to be a national thing, and fingers crossed in the future, possibly even global as well. But yeah, look, I guess I would try and refine the processes through the MVP, through the local market, see what works and what doesn't, and what I can streamline, and then from there try to target, I guess broader Victoria, and then scale up to a national level.
Yeah, thank you. And last question, just in terms of your MVP, can you just give us a little bit more color as to what is the MVP, and specifically once you've got access to, I think there's 84 participants on right now, what do you need to make the MVP happen?
I guess I'll answer the first part of the question. In terms of the MVP, it is essentially what I would like to call an end-to-end project management service. Now, a lot of people don't understand what that is, but essentially it is the clients, if they're interested, they would come to us, and essentially we'd be the single point of contact for anything involved in the design and build process, whether it's trying to understand their site and what options are available to them within their budget. I'm a registered architect as well, so we can do we can do custom designs in-house, all the way up until construction documentation. We'd apply for their building permits or any other town planning permits or accreditations they require, and then from there we can source builders and manage the entire construction process for them as well as manage defects at the end. The second part, I believe, is what we require to get the MVP up and going. At this stage, not much. Essentially, just follow me on social media, and if you are interested, feel free and are interested in, having my or making use of my services, get in contact. Essentially, I just need to start getting some money and hopefully developing from there.
Great work. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Trey, for those questions, and thank you, Pat, for a fantastic presentation.
Thank you.
So now we're going to move on to Diablo Jones, somebody who wants to keep us all safe. Now, the good news I have is that Diablo is safe despite the big storm that's just gone through the edges of Melbourne. The bad news is that he can't join us tonight because of the big storm that's just gone through the outskirts, unfortunately. So we've scrambled, as you do when you're in startup land. Diablo is the founder of K9 Protection Service, a new startup business specialising in a collaborative approach of security. The startup was created with a community-led approach built on the response that he's received from his community and wanting to apply a softer-led approach to safety through education and service provision. His model offers affordable solutions for families and businesses and can be deployed in different ways to suit their needs. Diablo applies his past experiences and knowledge from working in government services to support his vision and values applied through this startup. So I'm glad you're safe, Diablo. And now we're going to sit down with Bronwyn O'Shea, who is somebody who loves a good story. Bronwyn, over to you.
Thank you, Elena. Thank you, panel. Hello, everybody. I'm hoping you can see that all fine.
That's great.
Excellent. Look, it's 23 minutes past 8 in the morning, and our radio program is on air in 7 minutes. But I still don't have a guest booked in for that crucial first interview. I'll be honest, at this point, there is a small level of panic happening. So I grab my go-to list of experts and I start frantically dialing numbers until eventually I find someone who says, yep, I can do it. And I've got seconds to spare. Now, that kind of horror story used to happen to me all the time in my 15 years as an ABC broadcaster, and it is a real problem. Overstretched, time-poor journalists do go to the same handful of reliable people who will guarantee a good soundbite. So what ends up happening is you hear the same perspectives from the same people over and over again. The News and Media Research Centre found that in regional Australia, the majority of journalists are overworked and time poor. I'm Bronwyn O'Shea, and I'm bringing my knowledge in media, communication and performance to create a solution. It's called Story Up. Story Up will upskill the communication and storytelling abilities of regional Australians so that we can bring more people more perspectives into that talent pool. We offer virtual and face-to-face workshops, brainstorming sessions, even one-on-one coaching. So there's an option for everyone, regardless of budget, location, or experience. The focus is on regional business and community leaders, innovators, and change makers. It's a market that is underserved when it comes to media and storytelling training. With StoryUp, journalists, podcasters, even conference organisers won't have to go to the usual suspects, because there will be more people in their communities who have the skills and confidence to share messages. And regional communities will get to share and hear a wider range of perspectives and opinions. And that 23 minutes past 8 horror panic that I talked about doesn't have to result in the same old perspectives and the same old voices. So where are we at? Well, StoryUp is already helping people upskill their communication and storytelling, but I do need help leaping into this next stage. I'm exploring how I can use technology to create interactive media training and storytelling experiences, and ultimately create what you might call a Tinder for storytelling, a platform that will connect the people with the story to the professionals who are looking for stories and for interview talent. So it's time to story up, and I would love your support as a client, a collaborator, an advocate, or a tech whiz who can help me ensure that those diverse voices of regional Australia are heard. Thank you.
Bronwyn, what a great idea. I think our regional communities are so full of so many stories out there waiting to be told. I think this is just fantastic. So to our judges now, to Kate. What kinds of questions do our judges have of Bronwyn, Kate?
Fantastic and great pitch, and you did a great job at nailing the hook and the problem, so well done. I've seen a lot of startups focused in storytelling, and this is the first time I've seen something around emerging leaders and helping journalists access the talent. So how will you get those emerging leaders onto the platform? So it's again a bit similar to the first presenter. You've got a double-sided market. So how are you going to go to market, in particular on the emerging leaders, but also on the journalist side?
Yeah, thanks, Kate. Well, I'm very much focusing on developing those relationships initially. And I've only been running the business for a few months, but the networks and the word of mouth is extraordinary. And I think the nature of the kind of people that I'm targeting with this business, they do have really strong networks and they're great collaborators. So I think once we get results and benefits for the people that are using StoryUp, the word will spread. But I have been able to form some really strong relationships already with other startups and with businesses who are kind of sharing the same values as I am. So it's looking really promising.
Fantastic. And have you done any work into the total addressable market for this? What is your business model that sits behind it, and how big could this business be?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have, and it is quite challenging, but I think there is real potential, Kate, because as I said, regional journalists are so time poor, and we have a dwindling regional news market anyway because of all the cuts and the closures and the mergers of regional news outlets. So I think there's extraordinary potential to equip people with skills to be better storytellers, so that they're not so reliant on traditional media either, so that they can actually take advantage of the fact that, with a smartphone, we can all be content makers. It's just a matter of having the skill and the ability to tell good stories when you put that content out there. So I think there's huge untapped potential. You think about all the leadership, community leadership programs that exist, the business networks, the startup and shake-up kind of environments that we're hearing about tonight. They're all really amazing opportunities.
Fantastic. And my final question is something we always ask at launch, Vic, is about startups thinking really big. And you're certainly thinking about regions, but have you thought about how you scale this business so that you're growing something that potentially has international presence?
I love the fact that the heart of this really, Kate, is regions, because I've always lived and worked regionally, and I just see so many extraordinary people and stories that are overlooked or not uncovered because people aren't courageous or skilled enough to kind of put themselves out there. So I think that's what really drove my interest in looking at regions initially. But the approach can be applied to anyone, anywhere, because it's essentially just providing skills and then down the track, I hope, providing that kind of matchmaking service. So I don't see any reason why this couldn't work in any community in any country.
Fantastic. Thank you very much and well done.
Thanks for your questions. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you, Kate. Great questions, particularly in relation to the international. Bron, I love this idea. And I think it's telling those regional stories is going to be something that's increasingly important to us all as a community going forwards. So next we go to Sippy Makuniki, who is a young woman conversely focused on ageing. Sippy, over to you.
Thank you, Elena. Good afternoon. My name is Sippy Makuniki. I'm the founder of Nightingale. I'm a registered nurse with over 15 years experience, including working in the aged care sector, and I'm also an MBA candidate. Just like my hero, Florence Nightingale, I want to improve the quality and access to care and support for those that aren't getting any younger. Throughout my nursing career, I noticed that a lot of people want to stay longer at home, but they're not able to do so because they do not have the necessary support. Let me introduce you to Mr. Clark and Mrs. Turner. Mr. Clark and Mrs. Turner are among many older Australians who are living on their own at home. They're struggling without support and they're lonely. This problem isn't going away. In fact, it's only going to get worse because Australia is facing an increasing aging population. At Nightingale, we've got compassion for life and we've got a solution to fix this problem. The solution we have to address this problem is an online platform that will connect people who require care support and companionship with qualified providers who are able to deliver those necessary services. Nightingale will have a double-sided market. We'll have providers looking for work and we'll have clients who are looking for services. On the platform, Nightingale will capture the details and requirements of both providers and clients. Behind the scenes, Nightingale will approve profiles, conduct matches, and will connect the connection. It's an easy three-step process. Our website will be integrated with a third-party software, which will allow us to conduct the matching process, and it also has monitoring capabilities. So we're not just connecting people on virtual platforms, we're doing more than that, and we're ensuring best practices. In terms of traction, in the June-July period, we conducted extensive market research, including interviews with key aged care experts. It became very apparent at that point that we needed to pivot our offering. Since this evolution, we have garnered a number of expressions of interest. We've also established that we are providing a service to a large and growing segment globally. Therefore, scaling Nightingale beyond Australian borders is very possible. In the month of August, we commenced developing our minimal viable product, which is a website that will capture the expressions of interest of both providers and clients, and it will also promote our in-home care solutions. As we look into the month of September and the remaining quarter of 2021, we are looking to actively build our community. So if you are, or you know anyone who will benefit from this service, or you know of any industry thought leaders that will assist us and expand our knowledge base, we'll be keen to speak with you. Thank you very much for your time. Please join me on nightingale.com.au and also on social media. On there, we'll keep you updated on our latest developments on how Nightingale will improve the lives and experiences of people like Mr. Clark and Mrs. Turner. Thank you.
What great ideas, Sippy. And we actually have a regional network to do with healthy aging that I'm going to put in touch with you. So now to our judges. Trey, what questions do our judges have of Sippy?
Thanks, Sippy, for that presentation. Again, really important topic, and I think a lot of people here can really empathise with the need for this type of service. I'm really keen to understand what the business model around this is.
So, in terms of the business model, Trey, we're looking at tapering into the home care packages. And we are aware that the government will be introducing further packages for in-home care services, but we'll also be keen to engage customers who are able to pay for services privately, because there is a need across the board, and the home care packages themselves alone, they're insufficient to cover some of the services that we'll be providing.
Great. And what challenges do you see in setting up this business, given that it's it's in a sort of care quasi-medical space? Are there specific challenges that you'll need to overcome?
Yes, I think one of them is competition. We really need to be, I guess, mindful that it's a very competitive space, but also we've got plans, we've got a strategy to overcome that in terms of how we're going to innovate our services and how we're going to ensure that we're giving our customers value from time to time to overcome the hurdles of competition.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Trey, for your questions, and well done again, Sippy. This is potentially a huge market, and I can see all sorts of different avenues that you go off into, and it's something we're all going to face at some stage. So thank you. Okay, now we have two business partners. We have Paul Hogan and Lisa DeFazio, and this is obviously a hot topic. We're talking about sustainable housing. Over to you. There we go, that's great.
Hi, Alina. Thanks for the great introduction, and thanks to all those who have joined us to celebrate the graduation of the Startup Shakeup cohort #1. So many regional businesses are struggling to find and retain staff due to a growing shortage of affordable housing. Who would have thought that the local shop couldn't employ people because there was nowhere in town for them to live, or the farm down the road couldn't meet their production needs because the workforce had nowhere to stay? So shouldn't affordable and appropriate housing be available to everyone? Hi, I'm Lisa DeFazio.
And I'm Paul Hogan.
And we're the co-founders of ModNest, a Wangaratta-based modular housing company with the social justice at its core that provides affordable housing modules in a controlled factory environment. We're also co-founders of Fold, a locally based building design practice with over 10 years experience in the construction industry. We know firsthand that traditional on-site building methods take a considerable amount of time and are extremely vulnerable to waste and unforeseen delays. We've also witnessed an increasing gap between construction budgets and the actual build costs.
So that's why Lisa and I created ModNest, to provide an adaptable housing solution with a business model that provides future-focused career opportunities and a workplace that includes, values and supports employees. Our off-site construction process will leverage lean manufacturing principles and evolving BIM technology to reduce construction waste as compared to traditional on-site methods, which currently account to around 40% of our annual national waste. And our Wangaratta base will take advantage of our region's enviable access to major road and rail networks. Although a sustainable and agile business model is crucial to ensuring ModNest's long-term viability, we believe the key to our offering is in the flexible ownership models. We intend to offer a traditional once-off purchase arrangement, but also, along with this, a more flexible purchase to lease option, enabling individuals or organisations to purchase one or more housing modules. Then ModNest will manage the leasing and maintenance agreement with the end user, who could be anyone from agricultural producers and tourism operators to bushfire-affected communities. At the end of the lease, ModNest would remove the modules and either refurbish, disassemble and recycle, ensuring responsible lifecycle management. This particular option is what we feel sets ModNest apart from its competitors. Maslow's famous hierarchy of needs classes shelter as one of our primary physiological needs. However, in the past few decades, we seem to have turned this basic human necessity into a luxury item. With greater access to affordable quality housing, our regional businesses can plan ahead with confidence, and our communities will become more resilient and better prepared for future opportunities. This incubator program has been incredibly important to Lisa and I, and we would especially like to thank Amelia, Jess and Elena at Startup Shakeup, and Linda and Zoe at Runway, and of course, our wonderful cohort. From here, Modernest will be seeking funding to support feasibility and prototyping activities. There's a lot of good work to do. Thanks for your time.
That's great, Paul and Lisa. I'm looking out of my window at the back of my block now thinking, oh, okay, well, I might come and have a chat with you. So, Kate, what questions do our judges have of Paul and Lisa on this?
Thank you, and great presentation and well done. This is obviously a pretty capital intensive business, I would have thought, to get off the ground. Do you have any idea about how you're going to address that upfront capital expenditure to get off the ground?
Thanks for the question, Kate. Look, obviously it's a huge undertaking, and we completely appreciate that. And what we're looking to do, as I mentioned in the slides, was that we want to take the next period of time to really crunch down on our feasibility testing and prototyping. We really believe that, you know, this is a type of project that can't be a flash in the pan. You know, it'll create more harm than good if it just launches, creates, does this big bang and it's gone. We need this to be sustainable, obviously for ourselves, for our communities, and for the people we're trying to help. So we're looking into to funding opportunities. That'll be a big part of the feasibility. We've already started talking with Regional Development Victoria about some potential funding opportunities there. And that will, as I said, it's about feasibility for us, number one. That's our next phase, and that'll really determine where we go from there.
Excellent. And the other question that's related to that is competition, because obviously, you know, there are other people playing in this space, and making sure that you are price competitive is going to be really important in being able to get the business off the ground. Do you have a good understanding of who the competition is, and who do you think is number one on your list that you need to watch?
It's an interesting one, because yes, there are a number of competitors in this space of varying scales. What we feel about our product is that the point of difference that we were talking about with the ownership models, the flexible ownership models, we think does set us apart from quite a lot of the other competitors who have more of just a standard commercial structure and commercial offering. And particularly for us, we're sort of thinking that it's about staying small and nimble and adaptable. A big part of the feasibility, again, as I mentioned, is going to be about getting to know our end users and our customers as intimately as we can, and really designing a service for them rather than just competing on that commercial housing platform.
Well done, and I wish you all the best. It's a great idea, and clearly there's going to be a lot of demand for this sort of thing.
Yes, thanks very much, Kate.
Thank you, Kate, for your questions, and well done, Paul and Lisa. This has so many different layers to it. It's just fantastic. So next, we go, talking of capital, to Nathan McPhee, who has come up with a really innovative solution for all of those farmers. Nathan, over to you.
Good afternoon. Can you see that screen?
We can. It looks great.
Great. 100% of people are dependent on agriculture and food supply. It is essential for our survival. But due to large barriers of entry, the vast majority of people cannot participate in the industry. But what if they could? What if anyone could invest in agriculture without owning a farm? What if you could earn a strong return while supporting Australian farmers? And what if anyone could have a farm in their pocket and literally watch their investments grow? Hi, my name is Nathan McPhee, and as the founder of IF, we're here to enable that. IF stands for Invest in Your Farmer, and we enable anyone to invest into agricultural assets without owning a farm. Invest in a single cow, a row of grapevines, or oysters in a few clicks. IF is a farm in your pocket that puts money in farmers' pockets. For farmers, it injects new capital into their operations, improving their cash flow, liquidity, and risk management practices. And for investors, it can deliver an attractive and predictable return that's uncorrelated with traditional investments. Overarching purpose, however, is to build a mutually rewarding bond between farmers and consumers, between the city and the country. So, how does it work? In this model, you invest in what farmers produce rather than the farms themselves. For farmers, this won't compromise farm ownership, And for investors, it enables them to invest in small parcels and short investment cycles that also allow large levels of diversification. For instance, you'd be able to buy a steer at around 9 months of age for $1,500 that you leave it in trust to remain with the farmer until it's market ready at about 9 to 12 months later, at which time, if it's sold for around $2,500, that would present a 15% return to investors. The concept can also apply to broadacre farming, where you'd be able to invest into wheat and grain at the seedling stage and share in the harvest 4 to 5 months later. Once again, the principle can apply in horticulture, where you're buying small and selling large. We've been working with a wholesale apple tree farmer, for instance, and through our platform, people would be able to buy a single apple tree for $8 that would grow out and be sold to an orchard for $11 around 9 months later, representing a near 15% return to investors. Finally, we're working with a large-scale oyster farmer that will enable buyers to be able to purchase a dozen oysters on farm for around $6 that will mature over the next 4 to 5 months, and when they're sold into the market for $8, representing a return of around 13% to investors. Our vision is to put a farm in every pocket and to make that a simple and engaging experience. In terms of our progress to date, we conducted extensive market research on producers across a number of different agricultural products, engaged with the National Farmers Federation and AgriFutures, established the company and brand, and identified alpha users. We built a prototype app, and we're about to commence this month a pilot that will enable people to buy a number of livestock and around 4,000 dozen oysters. Legal frameworks are being drafted, and we've secured the support of a research provider to provide all the important content and research for consumers. Next, we want to work with more producers and leverage the relationships that have been opened with the industry participants, broaden beta users, and commence development of the blockchain smart contract systems that will enable record keeping and efficient facilitation of the process. Finally, we really want to open up those levels of engagement and communication between producers and consumers, and we'll be sure to incorporate a large level of engagement in products. Whilst our early focus is on the Australian agricultural industry, as it charges towards a $100 billion valuation, we have our eyes on the $3.2 trillion global agricultural industry. We want to make it possible for people to invest in Texas Longhorn cattle just as easy as they can invest in Angus cattle in Northeast Victoria. Thank you.
What a brilliant concept, Nathan. I know who I'm going to buy my oyster thing for.
Yeah.
So, to our judges, Nick, this one is made for you. What are the questions from the judges?
Well, thanks, Elena. And Nathan, you clearly like a challenge.
Absolutely. Always have.
Yeah, that's great, because I think, you know, in terms of risk reward, these types of things are, you're changing behavior, you're in front of the curve, and the rewards are vast, but the risk is also high. Question related to that is, how do you actually manage risk? So as a consumer, or an investor, if I'm buying one cow or sharing one cow, what happens if that cow doesn't make it?
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. I think an important part of the principle of this is, though, you're buying a single identifiable, tangible asset. So you're not pooling in any way, you're not buying shares of anything. So you're buying a single tree, a single dozen oysters, or a single cow. I think one of the huge opportunities and advantages of this approach, however, is the ability for a consumer to diversify across a broad range of assets and producers. So a farmer's risk is entirely concentrated. You look at livestock, mortality will be around 2%. But because an investor is buying very small parcels, a single tree or a dozen oysters or a single cow, their portfolio can be spread across a number of different farmers, a number of different regions, and potentially different countries. So there will always be, depending on the situation, potential mortality risk. But in terms of the impact that would have on the overall client's portfolio, it'd be relatively small. We are very conscious, though, Nick, of probably looking to mitigate producer risks, and we do that within 3 ways. Firstly is to ensure we conduct sufficient due diligence and validation on the producers up front. that we have a model that has a high level of transparency and that all investors will be able to see the track record of producers. Think more like a trust-based system of Airbnb and Uber. And the final defense for an investor is that broad diversification benefit and really small parcels. You're not buying 100 livestock on one farm, you're buying one cow on 100 different farms. That's the opportunity that investors have.
Thanks for that. The only other question is, have you looked into comparable fractional ownership models in other markets? I know BrickX or Bricks, depending upon how you say it, in the property space is an early mover into the fractional real estate investment market. It's always good to try to emulate what others have done.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. Nick, I had a conversation with Marcus, the founder of that business, only 2 days ago. We're actually trying to learn lessons and not necessarily emulate some of these products. Core to this is ensuring that we are not building a complicated financial product. This is not a financial product per se. This is mass share farming digitalized. You're buying a real asset, leaving that with a farmer, entrusting them to adjust it through to maturity and splitting the profits in the end. So there is there's very few ways to invest into agriculture globally without owning the farm. And you can't afford to own a farm unless you inherit one, or typically unless you're very wealthy and you buy a hobby farm. We are not trying to create structured product to give you exposure. We are looking to buy real assets on real farms and leave them there. So it's a fundamentally different approach. Our goal is to not have it regulated like a financial product. It is an asset purchase with a share farm agreement, and it's taking a principle that's existed for 100 years in small neighborhoods and effectively bringing down those barriers and taking it to the entire world.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Great questions, Nick and Nathan. Fantastic idea. Wonderful presentation. Thank you. So now, last but by no means least at all, we go to Ro and Latimer. You know all those plants that you've been buying during lockdown? Well, Ro is interested in all of those green fingers. Ro, over to you.
Thanks, Elena. Firstly, awesome prezos cohort. Nailed it. So lucky last. So g'day everyone, I'm Rowan. I've been writing software for almost 20 years. About 10 years ago, I worked in Melbourne as a freelance developer in the ad industry. And I got to be honest, the work was BS. It was interesting, paid well, but it felt like I was just making fat cats fatter. And like so many people in the industry, eventually I burned out. So my partner and I, we took a year off and we moved to Northeast Victoria for the call of the mountains. So in Melbourne, we had a pot plant, one single one in our apartment. In Northeast Victoria, we're now surrounded by hundreds of thousands of plants, and it's fantastic. The outdoors, they're just good for people. It's built into our DNA. The Japanese know it with forest bathing. Indigenous Australians have known it for tens of thousands of years. And there's loads of scientific research that proves it. A bunch of blokes, even in a 4x4 camping on the King River, know it's good for them. But the problem is, people are spending less time in nature. Turning point was in the 1950s when TVs entered people's homes. Research from Yale revealed that 50% of US adults spend less than 5 hours a week outside. 70% spend less than 10. Parents reported kids under 12 are spending 3 times longer in front of screens than outside. In another study, sadly, kids could identify more Pokemon than real wild animals. So why is this bad? When we spend less time in nature, we forget about it and we don't respect it. And the result is things like more deforestation and increased loss of biodiversity. So unfortunately, it's no surprise that globally, governments currently spend $4 to $6 trillion annually subsidising activities that harm nature. All of this, despite it being clear that spending time outside improves your mental and physical health, increases our life expectancy, and even lowers cancer rates, and so on. So really, our goal is simple. We want people to spend more time outside. Introducing Planted. You do the plant bit, nature's going to do the grow bit, and we're going to do the share bit. So we've built a platform to let you track what you're growing or snap photos of plants while you're out on a walk and share it. You can watch your veggies grow over time and just take a snap every couple of days, and Planted creates a time-lapse animation for you. You can compare your plants over seasons to help you grow your plants better. Then have a chat with your friends and family about your plant babies. Like many existing apps, you can set reminders to water and fertilize your plants, but our key difference is the community and the data. So Planted is more than just Instagram for plants. We'll be allowing simple access to our plant data so organisations, researchers and developers can do great things. Things like plant identification or invasive and endangered species tracking. We're also working on allowing data to be sent to the Planted platforms such as weather station data, satellite photography and small devices like time-lapse cameras and moisture sensors. We're hoping Planted will get people outside more, increase their knowledge of the natural world around them, and maybe we'll respect and treat it a little bit better. So we've currently got a beta release up on the app stores right now. So we'd love it if you could jump on, download it and start snapping your plants. It's free to use for the first 5 plans, and then there's a modest subscription price. The first 100 subs are getting a big discount, so $10 a year for life. That's 2 cups of coffee. It's not much. Just get on there and give us some feedback. We'd just love to know what we can add to the app to make it better for you. So thank you, everyone.
That's fantastic, Rose. So I get plant babies and I get an app that reminds me to feed them. That's perfect for somebody like me. So now to our judges. Now, it's obviously a moving feast today because Trace had to go off to do a client call. So I'm now going to introduce Emma Ball, who is another one of our board members with Startup Shakeup. Emma, if you'd just like to say a couple of words about yourself to introduce yourself and then ask Ro questions.
Thanks, Elena. Nothing like being put on the spot on a Friday afternoon. So hi, everyone. I'm Emma Ball. I'm one of the new directors at Startup Shakeup. I'm a biotech commercialisation expert and my day job is at CSL Biotechnology and Pharmaceutical Company here in Melbourne. So Rowan, lovely product. I think I'll definitely be downloading the app, particularly this time of year in spring, watching everything come to life. It's great to have those, photographic records. So can you talk a little bit more about your business model? So it's subscription based for people onboarding. How about people that are using the data? How do you see that working?
Yeah, so we're still going to develop that model out. So we've got a bit of a phased approach. Obviously it relies on having lots and lots of data. So we're targeting kind of general consumers at the moment. So normal social media users. So later on then we will sell the data based on API access. So still finalizing that at this stage. There's other plans to get hardware in, but again, that's a tricky thing to look at. So we're just slowly building the business over time.
Great. And do you have strategies for, I guess, stickiness of, users? How do you, so obviously there's a way of attracting users to your platform. How do you get them to stay?
Yeah, so some of the functionality really. The whole building a social network into it, that was motivation to get people to keep using it. So if you got your friends and family going, oh, how's your tomatoes going? You'll get back on there and take another photo and share it with them. So that was kind of one avenue. The reminders is another one. So just later on, once we've got some more data, we can start intelligently notifying people that it's time to water your plant in this region, because based on other plants and data over time from that area, it might be a good thing to do. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rowan.
Thank you, Emma, for your questions, and hats off to you, Ro, for creating something so engaging. It even makes me think that I should buy more plants. So having put Emma on the spot, I'm also going to ask whether Amanda is still with us and whether Helen is still with us, and put them on the spot too. So I haven't warned them to give us some brief feedback. Would you both do that for us if Jess gets you up?
Thanks, Elena. Yes, thank you so much. It was such a privilege to be at your launch of your Startup Shakeup cohort and to now see the ideas being presented. I think it's fantastic. You guys have done an amazing job. I'm so excited by so many of these ideas that you really are addressing issues that we see in regional Victoria and regional Australia. And, I just wish you all the very best with all of your ideas. I hope they're hugely successful, and just want to huge congratulations from me. It's wonderful to see so much innovation coming out of our region.
Fantastic. Thanks, Amanda. And Helen, thank you.
Oh, thanks so much, Eleanor. And Wow, massive congratulations to everyone on these incredible presentations. You know, a lot of people say to me that they feel like that lockdowns have been mind-numbing. Well, look at the explosive ideas here and the work that's been done. Like Amanda, I was delighted to be meeting with many of you some months ago, and to see what you've achieved in that time is incredible. And the vast array of ideas from building to plants to farming to nursing care are just extraordinary, and everything in between. So thank you for your work. I'm really encouraged by this, and I think well, I think we've all been forced to think about the world differently, and you certainly have. So great work, well done, and I think you're all winners in my mind.
Wonderful. Thank you, Helen. So now we're going to go back, before we go to announce the prizes, we're actually going to go back to our judges. So Kate, Nick and Emma, I'm going to pull you up again. Sorry about that. And I'm just going to go around the table a bit for your feedback about what you've seen. Kate, I'll start with you.
Well, I think, as always, Startup Shakeup have done a fantastic job of bringing together a really diverse group of businesses that are tackling some really big problems for our communities and business. I think all the standard of presentations was excellent, and congratulations to the team. I know a lot of hard work goes into getting businesses to that point. So congratulations to the founders. You've done an awesome job. And also congratulations to the team at Startup Shakeup and Runway, because I know a lot of help goes into this. So really well done. I think on the whole, the pitches and the hook and the problems were incredibly clear. I got a really strong sense of why you're doing these problems, and could also see the passion coming through the founders, which is something that is really great to see. Because if you're going to do these businesses, you're going to be spending a lot of blood, sweat and tears and time getting these businesses off the ground, and you need to be deeply passionate about the problem you're solving. I think it would be great to have understood a little bit more about the total addressable market and the business models that they're aiming behind all these companies, because when you're pitching to a group of people that can talk about your companies and make introductions, if you can see the business model, it can also help attract interest, customers, businesses, etc. And you've got a great audience here to be able to go, 70 odd people who can go and talk about these businesses. I certainly will be doing that. So I think congratulations to everyone. Great job. And I really enjoyed the pictures.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kate. And to Nick, I'll put you on the spot next.
Thanks, Selena. Yeah, I'd echo many of Kate's comments there. I think the pictures were fantastic. They were very polished, and they did nail the hook, pull you in very well and make it very personal. There was clearly a large amount of passion. I think there was there's a commonality that there's a lot of two-sided market stuff in there. And I think personal experience is two-sided markets are really actually quite hard. There's three sort of fundamental challenges with the two-sided marketplace. It's creating demand, creating supply, and maximizing the number of matches between the buyer and the seller. And all of these things look fantastic when you put them on the page, but I would imagine that most nearly everything sort of works at scale, but the challenge with the two-sided marketplace is actually getting to scale. And what I like to see with any two-sided market is how I'm going to solve one side of the market. How do I have an unfair advantage, or where is there some secret source that's going to get me from point A to point B? Because that's really what I'm looking for. Ideas are generally always good, and ideas at scale are always fantastic, but you're not there, and that's the critical thing. And the real $64 million question, which is what it is how do you get to scale? And that's what I'm looking for. The other thing I'd say is that I would have liked to see a little bit more about execution. It's often said that angels invest in ideas and venture invests in people. I'm not sure that I necessarily agree with that sentiment 100%. I'm an angel and a venture investor, and I tend to balance it out, but I do like to see a little bit more about execution and experience and what actually you're bringing and why you are the person and why you're the team and why now's the time. As I said in the first case, a little bit of that X factor. But overall, like really fantastic, great pictures, and very impressed. So thank you very much, Alina, Linda and the team. It's very well done. Thank you.
Fantastic feedback. Thank you. Emma, I'll come to you now.
Later. I think everything's been said, really. I think, one of my points, I think similar to Kate and Nick, I would like to have understood the business model a little bit more for most of them, and how those opportunities are going to scale as well beyond just the region. What are the opportunities nationally, globally, and so on. But I think, early stage, the business models are obviously yet to evolve. So I really look forward to following all these great businesses and founders and cheering you on and watching the journey. So was blown away by the diversity of the team, the diversity of the ideas, the backgrounds of people, what they were bringing to their ideas. I was, just blown away by the quality of the cohort. So cheering you on, guys. Brilliant.
Fantastic. So what we are doing for this group is we've created something called Growth Group. So they're going to carry on meeting. It's going to be once a month. And you've given us some really clear targets as to what the first few sessions should be about. So that's fantastic. So now the prizes. Well, being Startup Shakeup and Runway, we do this differently. Our participants were all very upfront that they wanted everyone to be a winner tonight. So we didn't make this a pitch fest in the traditional sense. Instead, we've arranged prizes that everyone can participate in, and Sippy and Pat are coming up too, to build on their skills, their confidence, their capacity and their connections. So part A will be a masterclass on business storytelling in the digital world. It will be facilitated by Miles Coker, who is designer and facilitator in business strategy and innovation at GHD Digital, one of our partners. This will show our cohort how to use business storytelling to strengthen their brand and how to leverage that story to support their influence. So we will introduce them to the power of business storytelling as a way of creating emotional engagement and meaningful connections. And they can then use this to establish a meaningful connection with their target audience, whether that's a customer, an influencer, or an investor. So the outcomes of that day will be a storyboard for their next branding touchpoint, whatever the kind of conversation, media campaign or pitch they're doing. And then part B is even more exciting. We've called this Breaking Bread, which is an interactive workshop with dinner at a regional star restaurant. What does this mean? It's a unique event, an opportunity for our cohorts and innovation champions to come together to problem solve a hand-picked wicked business case study, co-designing solutions and working in teams. But no one will know what bit the other teams are working on. So the workshop will be an opportunity to meet, chat, network and brainstorm in a relaxed, connected and gamified manner for our cohort and for a hand-picked selected group of others to get to the essence of being creative and share time with a room of really smart people where there is no hierarchy. Everyone is equal, first name basis only, co-investing in each other's ideas. The standout dinner will then be at a specially chosen regional restaurant, and part of the legacy will be that these are the things that memories are made of. In a time when so many have lost opportunities to take time out with others and be creative, Breaking Bread will be about sharing your ideas and enthusiasms with others. And by working on ourselves, we are working on our business. So who will be in the room? Our cohort and a selection of hand-picked innovation champions, all of whom will be on first name basis only so that everyone is equal. Breaking Bread will get to the essence of what it is to be a part of the Startup Shakeup and Runway communities. So now, before I move to the thank yous, I'd like to ask Linda, would you like to say a last few words as key facilitator in delivery of this incubator?
Oh, thanks, Alina. Look, I just want to say to the cohort that have pitched today that you've done a wonderful job. It's been an absolute pleasure to be with you on the journey over the last 6 months and also with the team at Startup Shakeup. It's been a wonderful collaboration exercise as well, and really excited to sort of continue to see this partnership flourish. So congratulations to all of you again. I look forward to doing our our juncture. I don't even know what we call it, the Breaking the Bread event very soon when we're allowed out of lockdown.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep.
That's great.
Elena.
And thank you. Working with Runway has been an absolute pleasure throughout this incubator. We both worked really hard at making this new model work really well. And halfway through, we had to go totally online, which was exactly what we had done as our plan B, and it went seamlessly. So now to wrap up, deep thanks to all of you as incubator participants, including those who aren't here, who've worked so hard. It's been hugely challenging times. We've had lockdowns, we've had homeschooling, we've had all sorts. And we see you as being part of our innovation community. My thanks also to your families and your friends who supported you and kept you going during such challenging times. Thanks to our fabulous judges, Trey, Emma, Nick, and Kate, who freely gave their time and energy to help make this night such a great event. Thanks to Runway, as I say, who have just been a fantastic partner to work with, and to Linda and Amelia for their care, their concern, and their support throughout. And thanks also to Jess at Startup Shakeup and Zoe at Runway, who have helped throughout, who helped put this night together, and who were always there behind the scenes backing us up. And finally, Kate, thank you to Launch Vic, and also to all our other funding partners who are watching tonight, without whom none of this would have been possible. The value of your belief in us, your support and your encouragement as we grow out this innovation network is absolutely immeasurable. Thank you everybody for being here. We had a massive audience tonight. It was just fantastic. See you all again and have a lovely evening. And I think I've even finished 5 minutes early. So there you go, time back.
A reminder, Elena, as well, that the new Startup Shakeup Incubator cohort is open. Applications are open right now for anyone watching who has a great idea.
I forgot that bit.
Can't forget the plug, Elena.
Yes, absolutely. So we've got another 10 places. We'll be going again. It will start on the 4th of October. There's a boot camp on the 1st of October and applications are open. Go to the website if you know anybody who's got an idea out there. We had about 20 applications last time and the people that we couldn't take in, we found something else for. So please encourage everybody to get in touch. Thank you so much. Thank you for a fabulous evening and enjoy your weekend. Stay safe and well. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.